Hey, YouTube folks, welcome to another video on this channel by Laskoka. Get your heart ready because there's a lot coming. The world of chess, for today, for sure. We had the World Cup tiebreaks, and in this video, I'll show what happened between Praga and Granada. And Danilo Dubov, the winner of this match, moves on in the cup. Whoever loses is eliminated, and right under my nose. Today we had the match between Faustino Ouro and Magnus Carlsen, and the new official chess tournament. With Title 5, so there's Title 3 and Title 5, what's the difference? Today's Title 5 uses the 3-0 time control with Faustino playing white. I'm going to show this game in this video. I'll also show what happened between Dubov and Praga and Granada. View the images of both players arriving. Because today was tiebreak day in the World Cup, Praga was playing with the white pieces, and the result of this game will determine who moves on to the next stage of the cup. It's absolutely unmissable. Comment who you're rooting for and who you think will win. And in the end, I'll bring you, of course, the full results of the World Cup tiebreakers. Hold on, get your popcorn. It's time for the battle because chess is always a fight. Now, mark November 14th on your calendar because the Super Black Friday of the SUP Alboreto community is coming with a completely insane discount. You'll never find the community to learn with SUP and Julia for this price again. Keep an eye out. The community is the perfect place for anyone who wants to learn and improve at chess, with over 300 hours of recorded lessons, new courses every month, plus daily contact with the best chess players in Brazil in the exclusive student group. Woohoo! And with the white pieces, the Indian Grandmaster Pragnananda faces the modern tactics monster, Danilo Dubov, and Pragna with white pieces started the game himself. It's e4. Wow, an Italian game. Pragna avoids wild positions with Dubov, preferring something more positional since Dubov is a very dynamic player. The knight on f6 pressures the pawn, and now with d4, if you take, I take back. So here the move d6 was played, and Dubov keeps the pressure on the central pawn, and after d5 and knight b8, of course, comes the defense, the super technical position. Here the wheel isn't being reinvented. The clock hasn't even started yet. Bishop to b7 gains some space on the queen's side at this moment. Then comes the move, queen e2. And here, they're already stepping out of what's commonly known. Because at this moment, Dubov plays the move c6. And there are no games in this position. Things are going to get dynamic. Take a look at the footage. The moment Dubov makes this maneuver, he took a bit more time, but everything's under control. They're already doing the calculations mentally. Pragna played h3, controlling e4 knight to a6. Dubov signals it's heading to c5 to pressure the e4 pawn. Pragna had already reinforced the defense too, and the natural rock and roll. At this moment, rook to d1 is played by Pragna. He does an x-ray on that queen's face. Notice how Dubov gets out of these situations by moving the queen. And now, to finish the development, bishop g5. And here Dubov said, "So, what are you going to do with your bishop now, Pragna?" That's what he said. As everyone knows, if you say A, you must say B. I've always said that, Layton takes and recaptures. He played f6, and now Dubov briefly has the bishop pair. If the position opens up into an endgame, that could be a very good advantage. Pragna makes a rare move here by playing knight to d2. Rafael Chess, who does? He said that. He said that you. He said what he said. He said what you do. He said what you do, what you do. He said what he said, you what you, he what you do. He said he you do. He what you do. He said what you do. He said what you do. Creates threat. Look how the minds of these geniuses work. Knight to c4 arrived, and now bishop to d7, which is very well defended. So taking here is not a problem. He wants to take with the bishop to put pressure on e4. It's a battle. Pragna played rook to b1, and things will escalate as Dubov brings his rook to the d file. At this point, Pragna, he plays b4, opening the queen's flank. See the images of Pragna making this move. The position, in fact, keeps heating up more and more. Pragna was a little behind on the clock, but nothing too serious. At this point, Dubov captured on b4, rook b4 was played, and Dubov said, "But wait, you isolated your a-pawn, and he's already starting to bring his pieces to keep an eye on that pawn." The creativity in this game is really impressive, because look, at this moment, the move knight to b6 was played. Pragna's idea is to attack the rook and break the Russian genius's bishop pair. Dubov moves the rook, so the pair of bishops is gone, right? The black bishops are broken. The position is really confusing. with an isolated pawn, a rook applying pressure, and another rook on an odd square. Queen f3 was played here, and Pragna's idea with this move still seems mysterious. He wants to trade queens. Notice that here, Dubov brings the rook to a8, and he's going to connect the rooks again. Raphael chess. Dubov can't play a bolder f5 move because he'd lose his queen. Look at that. There's a bishop acting like a sniper on a2. Raphael chess. I saw it already, no need to point out the obvious. Sorry for acting childish during the analysis, but he returned the rook here. And at this moment, Pragna offers the queen trade to go into the endgame, and Dubov said, "No, never. I need the queen. I'm a dynamic player trying to take you down." And it's worth it. In the next round of the World Cup, Queen g4 was played by Pragnananda. He keeps an eye on that pawn, and now King h6. This is important because Dubov, he goes off the usual themes. Look, from the check, there could be f5 if he manages to prepare that idea. And here he also waits to see what Pragna is going to do. Pragna plays h4, gaining space and limiting the bishop's squares. Watch what happens next. Here, Dubov plays a computer move, Raphael chess Kabbalah. This move is extremely hard to understand. What's the idea behind it? Again, it's a very creative move, and it's Dubov's idea. With this rare move, look at that. Disconnecting the rooks, right? He prepares both the move Queen e7 to punish this h4 that was played, as well as this bishop. It can enter on a5 and target these two pieces on the dark squares, which is a problem. So look how creative he is. Dubov and Pragna, with 350 left, h5 Pragna defended the pawn threat, and Dubov responded similarly. Now, the threat is moving the bishop to a5 with these odd pieces, taking and retaking. At this point, the bishop to a5 idea emerges. Pragna didn't care, he held the pawn. It's kind of loose on the a4 line, and he played bishop to a5 Raphael. It got complicated. Because the rook is really blocked. The only move to not lose the knight is the one Pragna played, which is rook to c4. The rook is really weird. Soon you might get hit with a d5 and could even lose a piece. Dubov played rook to d8, and Pragna began reinforcing the knight's defense. To try to get this rook into the game somehow, Dubov played king to h8. Notice he passes the turn to see what Pragna does. Everything feels strange. It's hard to find a move, and there's little time. Pragna played knight to e2, moving it to safety and out of the bishop's view. And now d5 has been played. Well, black center is advancing. There was this natural exchange. It opens up the file a bit for the rook to move. The rook comes to g4, and now the move e4 is a problem. Because, okay, your rook is now being saved, but the pawns are attacking you. The position is extremely complicated. Here, for Pragnananda, queen to f5 was played by Pragna, threatening to take on d5. And here comes the most important move of this phase, from the middle game to the end game, which is the move e3 played by Dubov. Check out this move in the images. It's based on a lot of tactics, which is characteristic of the Russian genius. And this is a key moment in the game because here Pragna makes a mistake. It's subtle but inaccurate. The bishop takes on d5 and wins the pawn. Raphael chess, wait, why can't he take this? You see Dubov's plan, play queen, e3 check, and when you cover that move, queen e6 gains a tempo on the rook. The rook has been awkward all game, and trying to defend everything leads to this move. Knight e4, and that's the idea Dubov had. Why? The idea of bishop b6 is coming, the idea of knight f2 is coming, and you won't be able to hold off so many threats with the knight planted here in the center. So that's why Pragnananda took on d5. According to the engines, the best move is f3 to prevent this diagonal from being opened. Bishop d5 was played, an inaccuracy, and Dubov will create chaos by taking on f2. And after the recapture, in fact, this diagonal was opened. That's White's problem. Now came bishop b6, an engine move, creating many threats. Raphael chess, but this knight barely jumps and the bishop is loose on b6. That's just what Pragnananda thought. He moved the king off the diagonal to avoid problems. Here comes the game's key move. Dubov played a brilliant, subtle knight to d3. He not only gives up the bishop, but also puts the knight on a square that's threatened by the pawn. See the images when Dubov played the move? Hand on head, calculating. Naturally, he's nervous about advancing in the cup. He played the move knight to d3 with less than a minute on the clock. Things escalated and got really complicated. See that? At this moment, you don't have any alternatives here. You can move the queen any way you want because you're about to get hit with a knight to f2 and the whole position is falling apart. You have to take this bishop. That's what Pragna played. And here comes Dubov's idea again. It's a tactical idea. He takes on e2, and the point is that you can never take the knight because both rooks are under threat. Look there, g4 and d1. So, see that this rook's move along this file here was something that hasn't worked out so well up to this point. And Pragna has to choose. He chose to hold a rook that was hanging with check, took the knight, the rook on g4 falls, and now it's falling here with check. It's falling on the other side. He got out of the check theme here. Pragna moves, now the pawn on a4 falls. It's incredible because from this moment on, the whole position starts to collapse along with the time trouble. Look, Pragna played c4. The queen checks, king moves to f2, queen goes to e5. You move the pawn to promote, but the Indian genius takes another pawn. The whole position collapsed. It's incredible how Dubov plays, and here he has an extra piece. Rook to g3 threatened mate to Pragna. First came the check, and after you moved the king, Dubov simply defended against the mate. On g7, the king moves to h2. Here it's just a matter of time. The position is already lost. Dubov starts to occupy the file. Queen to b6 is played to defend against doubling up. Otherwise, you risk losing a piece. Queen to h5 check. Rook covers. Queen to e5 check. Now the pin, then queen to d6. Clear. Dubov aims to trade and win the endgame with an exchange advantage. The next round is at stake. Now queen moves to a7, watch the queen. He prepares the doubling, and when you return, Dubov infiltrates. There's a check, the doubling comes, the rook infiltrates, and the game ends. King to g1 by Pragna. Dubov doubles on the file, infiltrates, and white has no moves left. Pragna resigns. He really resigned, Raphael. This can't be serious. Why not defend with the king? f1. Because you lose the rook on e1, take it. Take back on e, and at the end of the line, you still lose this rook. On g3, Danil Dubov snatches it. Check out the images for the moment of resignation. This game is crucial for Dubov in their careers. With Dubov's win, he advances to the next round of the cup, and the world wonders if the Russian genius will become one of the contenders. Now the match's precision is clear. Dubov plays like a machine. Brilliant move, knight to d3 sends the Russian genius to the next cup round. Updated cup results are on air. Frederick Svani versus Sindarov. Pentala Harikricha versus Martinez, one of the tensest matches of the round. Yakubo EV against Gabriel Sargsyan. Li Kuanglian against Donchenko. Danil Dubov against Shanklan. A tense match. Pro Grabnev also stood out by eliminating Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and he will face Andrei Zipenko in the next round of the cup. EI against Sam Sevian. Levon Aronian against Aragaisi, wrapping up the matches of the next round. Rafael to De La Rota. I want to know about Faustino Ouro versus Magtan. Get ready. Faustinino with white pieces against Neruga dropped the bomb. Equitrino says, whoa there. He's facing a Sicilian from Nurigues who plays the Paulsen variation. Faustino knows this opening and also plays the Sicilian. Now a6 controls b5, making it 3x-0. Faustino sticks to the basics. In the opening, he keeps developing. Queen c7 is natural. And now castling, followed by the move knight f6 and queen 2. Well, the position is totally balanced. Notice that neither has used time on the clock. Both are fast, even under time pressure. Magno plays the move to d6. He will try to develop his pieces naturally. Faustino plays this solid structure, which is the Marachi structure. Knight moves to d7 to control d5, followed by f4. Of course, the kid's got guts. He's really going for it, already expanding on the king's side, keeping an eye on the center, and Magnus plays g6. He wants to fianchetto. Or play bishop h6 to watch f4. Faustino played knight c3, Neruga fianchettoed. Then a technical move, king h1. Already moving, look there, some themes that might come up along this diagonal. Magnus castled and played bishop to e3 Raphael. Nothing new so far. The position is balanced and normal. We're still in the opening. Magnus still needs to move the bishop from c8, so he plays b6 to fianchetto both sides. Faustino moves the rook to the bishop's file, and bishop b7 is a natural move. And at this moment, look at what is about to happen now. Faustino played bishop g1. He's waiting to see where Magnus is going. Magnus plays technically, centralizing pieces with precise timing. Knight to f3 may bring the bishop to d4, centralizing. Faustino also observes with his bishop. There on b6, it's solid. Magnus brings the last piece into play. This is another moment for creativity in chess. Faustino, he plays a technical move. He puts the rook where the black queen is. Take a look, because it can always come up at some point. Ideas like knight to b5 or d5 don't work now, but they could later. So Magnus moved the queen away from the rook. In this position, bishop to d4 was played, centralizing by Faustino. Magnus then brought the queen to a8, showing he always has a point. He points out that the white piece's weakness may be the e4 square. Well, at this moment, Faustino, he then reinforces the defense of the central pawn with bishop to h6. Look, again, Magnus is always keeping an eye on the vulnerabilities of the position. And here, Faustino defends with ambition. He plays knight to g5 careful. From here on, everything is complex. Why? Faustino's knight holds an advanced post, protecting the pawn and pressuring Magnus. It's amazing. He played the computer's e5 move. Look at this sharp play. So Dex, you take here, you lose. The knight on g5 is the move that causes the most problems for white's position. But Faustino, he defended. He brings the bishop back. Look at that. Holding on and still keeping an eye on the knight. Takes back. Now Magnus moves knight to c5, which is dramatic since taking on d6 would leave g5 undefended. And Magnus is putting pieces on the e4 square, which is the idea Magnus is showing. That's the weak point for white. And at this moment, Faustino just paused here. He said, hold on, nothing is being threatened. He moves the queen to f3. But here Magnus goes into a concrete line. Concrete and solid. He takes on d3, he takes on g5, and at this moment, he wins a pawn. Raphael chess? That's the story we're used to. Magnus wins a pawn and is going to take the game like that. Careful, be very careful, because he's facing the genius Faustino Ouro. Faustino exchanges on e4. In fact, Magnus is winning a pawn. If you take here, you're losing on g2. You have to defend. That's what Faustino played. And now Magnus, to make things even more complicated, played the machine's move again. But look how Faustino responded. He plays bishop f6, and now Faustino is arguing that it's opposite-colored bishops. With Neruga's king defeated, taking the queen on h6 ends the game. Magnus has an extra pawn but risks checkmate. Look how incredible Magnus is right now. He's playing well. Rook to f5 is one of the few moves that avoids losing defending the queen on h6. Otherwise, you hang the bishop. Faustino returns the bishop to defense at b6, renewing the queen to h6 threat. Magnus made a move that seemed impossible but wasn't, which is b5. Raphael chess, relax. Magnus let Faustino bring in the queen at h6, but Faustino chose b3 instead. Raphael chess, stop playing chess. I can't understand why Faustino didn't play that, because it's incredible. But that move doesn't win for white. You get bishop g2 check first, and when you defend, king f6. Black's position is solid, which is the worst part. Now Faustino's king is exposed and vulnerable with all the white squares weakened. He read it right. Little Grasshopper played b3, keeping it up. Magnus continues with tactics. He played c4 since Faustino quickly realized the rook couldn't capture, so he used the pawn instead. Raphael chess, wait, why can't you do that? Because you get bishop g2 again. Look, losing another pawn, and if you take with the queen, you hang that rook. Raphael chess. No need to explain. It's obvious. Again, I apologize in this video. Well, Faustino captures with the pawn, the right move. Now, queen to c6, Magnus reinforces, keeps guarding, and has an extra pawn. The position is tense, with weakened dark squares. King to g1, Faustino escapes check, and Magnus responds precisely with queen to d5. He's starting to try to open up the position now. At this moment, look how Faustino plays ambitiously. He pushes the pawn, and it's nothing at all. This position is balanced. Don't think that Magnus is winning this game. It's completely even. In the evaluation, anything can happen at this moment. But again, in tense moments, Magnus plays the queen. g5 is a tough and the best move here. To finish with the themes, the queen. Entering on h6 square rook to f1. Now Faustino plays h6, reinforcing Magnus. And now the move h3 gives a little breathing room too. The genius Faustinino takes back. The threat is rook to f6, and Magnus would be lost if hit by that move. Time was running out. Both of them are quick. Magnus played f5, the best move, advancing and controlling the file. Queen to c3, Faustino says he's still aiming for mate. Now king to h7 as Neruga begins to defend. Rook 1, Faustinino plays. If you remove the bishop, he can trade or bring the queen to f4. Magnus keeps gaining space, and your bishop on f2 is stuck if the queen leaves. The pawn moves. The position is very dramatic. Rook to e7, Neruga plays, trying to control some of the dark squares around the king. And queen to d4, waiting to see where Magnus goes. King to g6, Magnus Carlsen plays, queen to h8. Now, Faustino has entered. Careful, Magnus could lose this position at this moment. The queen is very active. Here's Magnus's signature move, offering to enter an endgame. Naturally, he wants to trade since he has an extra pawn. He's a beast in endgames. Faustino, knowing this, said no, it's war. Queen to g8 to cover. Another check. Where did this queen come from? f7. Faustino keeps his queen. And now f3. And Magnus starts trying to open up the position because if you take, he takes with the queen. And on f3, are you going to get checkmated? Here, Faustino keeps everything closed. It's a smart move. Queen to f5. Magnus wants the endgame. Faustino said, I won't trade, let's play this way. King to h7 now, g4 defending h3. Queen to d7, Magnus again insists on the trade. Faustino stays true to himself and doesn't trade. Rook to e7, queen to f6. This is the game's key moment. Again, Magnus offers the queen trade. It's incredible how the Norwegian plays at this moment. Engines say Faustino should trade queens, but he insists on keeping them and avoiding the queen endgame. 8. It's an imprecise move. With 11 seconds on the clock, Magnus has 14 seconds on the clock. And why isn't this move good? And Magnus found the brilliant h5. It's the way to try to change things now. For the worst king. Right now, it's Faustino's king, since the position is opening up above his king. Look at Faustino. He plays the move bishop d4, saying that Magnus is going to get checkmated in this position, Ravel, because Faustino can't take it. You can, but shouldn't, since after rook f7 defending the queen, h3 falls and the pawns advance. This position is hopeless, vulnerable, with a mate threat and nothing left to defend. Faustino made the right move with bishop d4, his main counterplay. Magnus then said, "But aren't you threatening me, mate?" and captured the g4 pawn. Seems black will lose, but after queen h8 and king g6, you have no more checks. In this position, Faustino starts trying to defend the situation. If you take here, you lose immediately because the queen is coming in. On g2, he tried to get out of these situations. And Magnus played the best move again, which is g3. He sacrifices the pawn, leaving Faustino no choice but to take it. And now f2 is another brilliant move because the idea behind this move isn't clear. At this moment, look at Faustino. The rook is under threat. He took the offered pawn right away. I wasn't going to let it survive. But Magnus plays queen to f7. And what's the idea? He's threatening mate. Faustino doesn't have any time on the clock. He read the position correctly. He defended. There's mate on f3, but queen to f7 wasn't threatening mate. Only on f3, it was actually threatening mate in two spots. Queen to f4 is mate. Neruga wins this match in time trouble. Faustino almost took down Magnus. You can feel the tension in the air, the precision of the battle, Neruga. In a long game like this, with 90% a blitz game, that he plays at the highest level. Faustino made a mistake with queen to f8, likely due to time trouble, but with more experience, he'll improve. Neruga's time will come. Comment below. If you like the video, are you enjoying the cup coverage? All the details, don't forget to hit the like button and see you in the next videos.